Dear chess fans, welcome to another video in which I'm going to cover a fantastic game played at a new super tournament which is just starting in Uzbekistan, in the capital Tashkent. We are checking out the game between world's number 5 Nodibek Abdusattorov and Parham Maghsoodloo. It's a very spectacular game with a very amazing finish. So I will take you through all the ins and outs of this game. You only have to subscribe to the channel to make my day. Thanks for doing that. And of course, share this video among your friends. Of course, you can also help the channel to grow by supporting it with a small donation via PayPal. You can find it in the link below. And now it's my turn to show you the most exciting game of the day. Abdusattorov goes for 1d4. Knight f6, knight f3, e6, bishop f4, London system. Very popular opening. It used to be played at club level for many years. And people were always talking like a boring opening. But nowadays, the big guys, they learn from the amateurs. And they see that London system is actually a very good opening just to get an interesting game without too many forcing lines. So black goes c5, white plays e3, knight c6, knight bd2. And now, remarkable move by black. As black played here the move h6, looks like a waste of time, but the idea is that after the typical move in the London system, c3, you can go knight h5, and very soon you can trade off the knight for the bishop. That is something white would probably rather avoid. So Abdusattorov played here the move knight c4, and now knight h5 is not so attractive any longer because there's a huge hole on the d6 square, which can be used by a knight and later on perhaps even by the dark squared bishop. So therefore black played the move c5 so that the queen is covering the d6 square together with the bishop. Knight c e5. So the knight comes to the center, looks pretty active. Queen b6, attacking the pawn on b2, rook b1. Everything is well defended. Knight takes e5, knight takes e5. And the bishop comes out to d6. So both sides are trying to complete their development. Now white plays c3, bishop to d7, and the bishop comes to d3. I do like white's position a bit better here, because I think that the bishops are somewhat more active, especially compared with the bishop on d7. And now a very standard plan in these positions, which was not played, is the move bishop b5. Black normally really wants to get rid of his worst piece, the light squared bishop. But the reason it was not played is because of a small tactic. White can take on b5, and after queen takes b5, it is knight takes f7 with a discovered attack on the bishop and the rook. If you take the knight, then white just wins the pawn by taking on d6. If you take the bishop first, then the rook in the corner can be taken. White is also winning material. That explains that bishop b5 is not an option yet, but black goes for the move rook d8, protecting the bishop on d6 as well. And now bishop b5 becomes sort of a positional idea for black. Therefore white plays the move a4 to cover the b5 square. Black castles, and now look at this. The board is set on fire with h4. This is the crowd favorites move. We all love to see such early attacks, ignoring basic opening rules, keeping the king in the center. And if white does get some time, there will follow g4 and g5. And with that pawn on h6, you're about to open up the king side. So black needs to act here. Otherwise, he will just be steamrolled by a very early king side attack. So pawn takes d4 played, and white does take back with the e pawn. So the white pieces are still nicely controlling the center. And as I said, black feels the urgency here to try to do something. Play the move knight e4. So the knight is looking active, but there are also ideas at some point perhaps to play a move like f6. Well, as you can see, it will not be that simple to try to strike with g4, because f6 is coming very soon. Therefore white castled here. Change of plans. But that's absolutely okay, and h4 is not a weakening move at all, because black's pieces, they're not doing too much. Black is preparing the move f6 here. If you play f6, now the knight can come into to g6. Looks like a weakening of the king side. So instead, black went for the move bishop e8. Rook is defending the bishop again, and f6 can follow very soon. White played the move queen to g4. bringing the queen into the attack and preparing. Bishop takes h6, so that the g-pawn is pinned. Black has a very interesting way of dealing with the threat, went for the move queen c7. So that if you do take that pawn on h6, threatening checkmate in one, Black can defend here with the move f5, attacking the queen. And here you see why the queen is on c7. It's protecting the mating threat. The queen got a move, cannot stay on the g file. All these squares are covered by a black minor piece, so that after the queen moves you can take the bishop. Very subtle trap, but easy for those guys to spot. After queen c7, white now also has to deal with this idea, bishop takes a4. So the bishop goes back to c2, defending the pawn. Now king h8 played. So anyway, black is seriously preparing the push of the f-pawn at some point. But white plays f3 first, wants to tickle the knight. Knight goes back to f6 to attack the queen, and the queen comes to h3. So it looks as if at first that the attack of white has brought to halt. But okay, there are still ideas to give the attack a new impulse. Maybe g4, g5 at some point is an idea. But especially, and that's so often the problem in the London system, white has a massive grip on the center, and black wants to open it or exchange pieces. But I think here black's position is still playable. If you play move like knight d7, trying to initiate the exchange of pieces, that looks quite sensible. Or an alternative could be to try to strike on the queen side with b5. But what Maghsoodloo does here, it's not good. He hits the knight with the knight, the bishop on f4. And the bishop goes back to h2, maintaining control over the e5 square. f6 is played, thinking that if the knight goes away, you can take on h2, everything will be swapped on h2. If queens are coming off the board, that's absolutely okay for black, when he no longer will have to face an upcoming attack. But instead there is this move f4, and that's probably what was overlooked by Maghsoodloo. The knight is supported by the pawn, and the knight on h5 is sort of stranded. There are ideas to go g4 very soon. First, the knight was captured on e5, pawn takes, attacking the bishop. The bishop goes back to e7. But now it's g4. As I said, the knight is trapped. Bishop covers the f4 square, so the knight cannot go anywhere. Queen c4, counterattack. Important moment. Don't be greedy. Don't take on h5 immediately because of bishop takes h5. And black is still fighting here with ideas trying to infiltrate into white's position. Now, instead of capturing on h5, first the rooks are going to be exchanged, so that after bishop takes, white can seize control over the f-file. Queen takes f8 is a very important mating threat, of course. So the bishop goes back to e7. Now it's g takes h5. So not only you have regained the piece, but you're a pawn up. The queen also defends the pawn on h5. And obviously bishop takes h4 runs into queen f8 with checkmate. Therefore black played the move b5. Desperate counterplay, but white is ignoring that side of the board. Play the move rook to f1. If you do take the pawn on a4, it is queen f8 with the queen sacrifice leading to checkmate. So the pawn on a4 cannot be taken. Black had to cover the f8 square with the king. And now b3 is played to kick the queen out from c4. Queen c7 played, queen d3. That's the idea of b3, so that you're setting up a battery with queen and bishop. And it's a mating threat once again. Black is forced to go g6, but here you see black's position is falling apart. The king side is really weak. All pawn weaknesses, everything is winning. You can just take the pawn on g6. That looks very convincing. But Abdusattorov is finishing the game in great style with queen to h3. He's attacking another pawn weakness, but black also got to deal with that weak pawn on g6. Now king g7 was played. Queen takes e6 played in the game, with ideas to take very soon on g6 as well. Now it is bishop takes h4, and look at this, the final moment of the game. And the reason I wanted to show you this video, you may pause for a second here. Can you find the coolest move of the board here? It is white to play and win. Everything is winning. but please do it in style. And then you will see that queen f6 is the final move, sacrificing the queen to give a check, to hit the bishop on h4. And if you take on f6, which was not played because black resigned here, but if you do take, you take back with the pawn, with check, and it's a discovered attack on the queen. King f8, bishop takes c7, white is a piece off, and that is a great start for Nodiberg Abdusattorov, who is moving to 27-71. Amazing start of the tournament. Everybody wish he could start with such a crushing victory in only 32 moves. Let me know, what do you think of this game? Probably I will come back to more exciting games from this event, because there are many great stars playing there as well. So stay tuned for more exciting coverage of this event. And make me one more favor, one more time. Hit the subscribe button, guys. I need your help. And then I promise that I will keep delivering. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.